and the channel is live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventure on so many levels. We're going to play some Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons
Finally!
and Dragons? Oh, the dungeons.
I am Christiana Ellis, and I am the Dungeon Master, and the party of players that we have been struggling to reconvene for several weeks now. And I just realized I have them in the wrong spots. There we
The
go.
ultimate D&D
There we
villain.
go. Yeah.
Scheduling.
Indeed. It's true. It's 100% true. Mark Kilfoyle as Nedry / Vertigo.
Nothing at all.
Paul Fisher as Zinhorn.
Windborn. Still just me.
Adjusting the thumbnail because Mark is sitting off to one side for some reason. It's okay. Carolina Swift, played by Starla Hutchton.
Hello, friends.
And Jenny Meltzer, playing Zaylene.
Hello.
So, when last we left our heroes, the Pocket Protectors, it's been a little while. You know, our last episode that we had in this campaign was a side story of some monster hunters. But when we last left the Pocket Protectors, they were in kind of a state. They had traveled to the elemental plane of ooze in search of one of the remaining pieces of this machine that they hope will help them to deal with the strange titanic artifact known as the Pillar. But in the process of obtaining this piece, they also ended up kind of awakening the Blob of Annihilation. You know. And they fought it for a while, but turns out, I was about to say they didn't make much of a dent, but it's just hard to dent an ooze, right? Or rather, I guess it's easy, but it doesn't matter very much. You know, that's just kind of how oozes do. But one of the big problems that they had was when the ooze killed Vertigo and disintegrated him. And the rest of the party was not going to let that stand. Not when they are of sufficient level that the wish spell is on the table. And so, Carolina summoned her most powerful magics and wished that they would have their friend Nedry / Vertigo to be returned to them with all his possessions in the same state that he was in before the destroyer emerged from the oubliette. So, now a story. There is no way that any mortal creature could know what it is like to be the Blob of Annihilation. To even describe it as a single entity loses nuance that is important to understanding the phenomenon that is the Blob of Annihilation's effect on the universe around it. At some point in the time before there was sufficient consciousness in the universe to observe history, abstract concepts coalesced, existed, transformed, decayed in the primordial chaos. Next came the Age of Titans, where entities of form and power staked out territories within this chaos, enforcing their existence through strength and will. Some of the abstract concepts did not survive to coexist with these more stable entities, but the ones that did managed this extension by making of themselves an overlay to the minds and hearts of the Titans. Emotions, sensations, experiences. Over time, most of these entities became so interwoven with the material and the spiritual planes that they ceased to have any distinct separation at all, simply becoming aspects of the existence of the Titans, and then of the mortal creatures that came next. But there was one that remained: hunger. Rather than becoming diluted and distributed, the world of the Titans refined it. They took away only the most impure aspects of it, the ones useful for survival or for pleasure. But these weakened strains understood that for creatures like the Titans, hunger is tempered with the desire for continued existence. A physical creature eventually becomes full, or chooses to refrain from eating all the food before them so that seeds might be planted for future crops or shared with others. As these pieces of hunger were stripped away, what remained was not hunger as mortal creatures or even the Titans would have understood it. This hunger was of the original primordial chaos, and within it was the insatiable need to consume anything and everything that had form until nothing at all remained for all eternity. But this desire could never be attained. The Titans' will was too strong, their magic too powerful. They could not be eaten away, not while they lived. But then came the age of mortals, and the Titans did die, and their deaths were many and varied. Some simply submitted to oblivion, others fought amongst themselves. But in one there had been a desire for conquest, to possess all that the cosmos had to offer. When it became clear that their desire had likewise been thwarted, their despair brought them to a mental depth wherein their desire transformed. If the cosmos was one that could not be possessed, then it must not exist at all. And with this dying wish, the corpse of this Titan made of itself a template that hunger could inhabit. Its liquefying titanic flesh, suffused with primordial hunger, became the blob of annihilation, also known as the Destroyer. And with the new age, the mortals were not the implacable, inedible threat that the Titans had been. And entire nascent civilizations were consumed before they could truly exist. The blob of annihilation might well have achieved its desire if not for the other Titans. Not all of them had raged at the passing of the cosmos from Titan to mortal. Some had left their tools behind that mortals might one day reach titanic heights. And these artifacts, imbued with a will to endure, could not be consumed. Instead, they roiled and disturbed the destructive consumptive power within the titanic hunger's form, which it could not altogether avoid, now that it had bound itself to a physicality. It avoided these artifacts where it could, but eventually mortals did make use of these artifacts and other tools of power, finding a way to bind the blob into dormancy. Upon the blob's reawakening, it worked to resume its terrible purpose, unaware that one of the mortal creatures it sought to consume would prove a more difficult meal than anticipated. This difficulty arose from two factors. The first was that this entity possessed a mind and soul which had been touched by a Titan, and thus could not be completely consumed. Elements of this being's thoughts, feelings, and personality swirled around within the blob like grains of sand might become a pearl within an oyster. But like the blob itself, these pearls would be horrifying and destructive to any mortal which managed to behold them. The second factor that complicated the blob's digestion was a magical bag on the mortal's person. The blob itself flowed around and into this magical bag, enveloping it both inside and out. Within this bag were splinters of titanic artifice. These also swirled around within the blob, undigestible. Meanwhile, outside the blob, powerful magics struck it and buffeted it, doing little damage but altering the circumstances that surrounded it. More than once, those magics attempted to force it through an impenetrable shield. A shield which had once been erected to seal away the material planes from the realms of pure chaos and complete order. Each time the magic failed, but the blob's corrosive aura weakened that shield until finally this magic created a tiny breach and forced it through. Deprived suddenly of any material substance to consume was a shock to the blob, and there was for an infinite instant a risk that it might dissipate into non existence. Suddenly, its inability to fully digest its last meal took on a new significance. The splinters of titanic artifice were not distinct, separate objects, they were parts of a whole. They went together, and together they had power and a purpose. That power, it had a capability to that power it had a capability to wield which vastly outstripped the mortal that had previously carried them. But the Titan-touched remnants of that mortal communicated both the purpose and the place where that power might be applied. Suddenly, the blob had a new dimension to its existence, a desire to find the sole remaining piece. The pieces it now possessed told it that it could find the last at the base of a plane-spanning tree. While it pondered this new change to its existence, it hardly noticed as a powerful reality-altering wish extracted the essence of the mortal creature it had consumed. The indigestible seeds were withdrawn, but the nightmare pearls that had formed around them remained. Most of the mortal being's possessions, likewise, were pulled from the blob's mass without the slightest disruption. The titanic artifacts, however, were contested. While the mortal had carried them for a time, they had been designed by a Titan, and each constructed by another mortal. When compared to an entity possessed of titanic essence and primordial will, the right of ownership could not be pulled away, and the splinters remained with the blob. This magical, reality-altering ripple, though certainly of importance to the mortal creatures who set it in motion, did not distract the blob from its new focus. Instead, it set about returning to the material planes through the breach, with an inherited will to use the assembly and to make the Titan artifact known as the Pillar a part of itself. With that done, even the remnants of the Titans could not withstand its insatiable hunger. Now, the mortal creature, sometimes known as Nedry, sometimes known as Vertigo, arcane educated, sorcery imbued, and Titan touched, is reconstituted in the state in which he existed before the fight with the blob began. And within his mind are the seeds which grew into nightmare pearls within the blob. For this reason, he maintains a psionic link with those pearls, and for this reason he awakes with the full knowledge of the blob's transformation and of what it seeks to do next.
Okay, so I broke everything.
I said,
I mean, you have created a change to one very specific thing. But yes, all of you had gathered around for Carolina's casting of the wish spell. And as the magic swirled around her, you watch as, built back up seemingly from the dust and matter pulled from all across the cosmos, Nedry, Vertigo, is restored with all of his possessions, except, of course, for the parts of the machine that you sought to acquire.
Oh. Oh.
Kind of sits up.
Something just happened. Something very strange.
Lynn gives him a big hug.
Oh,
Hugs you back, but kind of uncertainly.
um, are you okay? What, um, wasn't there a thing? There's a thing.
I'm
Oh,
very
there's
tired.
such a-
Somebody else explain it to him.
There's a really big thing out
So-
there.
you were dead. I think. Yeah, you were definitely dead. And there was a thing, but now it's, I don't know.
Bigger than you can imagine.
Yeah, it was pretty big. But you were dead. And now you're not?
I don't remember being dead, but I remember some things. Terrible things. Things that are almost too large to describe. Oh no.
And he'll reach inside the bag and you'll see him kind of swirling his hand around. Pulls out a few random things.
No, no, no. Oh no. That was. Oh no. Oh, we have to go. We have to go.
Where do we have to go?
I think to Emerald Arboretus. It's going to be there, I think. If it hasn't already.
What it?
I don't even know if it really properly has a name of its own. It's older than names. Older than everything, I think.
Are
Or
you
maybe
talking about that thing we just banished?
banished. That would not entirely be true.
Just
It may not be.
for context, you are still in this little swamp village here in the elemental plane of Ooze, once occupied by a tribe of bullywugs and their guests, the party of Aarakocra, but everyone had fled uh, because it seemed as though the destroyer, otherwise known as the Blob of Annihilation, was about to eat everything before you had banished it. So, actually, I believe, do I recall correctly that the Aarakocra were, uh, they
They're in
went
the
into your
tower.
magical
They
tower?
went in the tower.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
waiting to be told that it is safe.
Um, I'm. It's not. There's a. Hmm. Uh, it is big.
Yeah, it was pretty big.
No, more than that. We know that the things we've been dealing with are big and old. This is bigger and older than even that. I think I know it's. Well, I hesitate to say mind. Minds are too small for this, and too complicated. It's
Like
really
the
quite
Titan.
before the Titans.
But
Bigger
I
than.
mean, like the mind is like how it was with the Titan, but worse.
The Titan's mind was complicated, torn on its own emotions. This was not torn. It was focused. It found focus. We knew these things we were finding were old, these devices and pieces of things. But we really didn't know how old they were. They are derived from encapsulating, integrating, inspired by, and to some degree manifested by the Titans originally. Their form probably has changed as mortals have come in contact with it, tried to harness what powers lie within, not entirely unlike the way that the pillar has been both harnessed and manifests differently. The, those things are older, and it wants them all. It has most of them. But it knows where the last one is. Emerald Arboris. Somehow. I don't know where. It seemed to pick the trunk, but I don't even know if the trunk begins in the mortal world or if it's simply one singular manifestation of a multifold being that crosses over dimensions and therefore technically exists in all of them simultaneously and then might actually have multi parts of fixed bases.
What I'm getting here is that we need amethyst and a nap.
I was dead. I don't remember that. Huh. It would be nice to know what that was like, I suppose. But then again, I was dead. How am I here?
That's why I need a nap.
Lynn
What?
wished you back.
What? You
Yeah.
can do that?
Yeah, she's
Yes.
super powerful, but also now she's like,
Super useless.
Never. I don't know what I can do. Um,
And I reach down to see if the stone is still at my hip. The midnight stone tablet.
Oh yeah, you do still have that. Yes.
um, we should leave. Do you have everything you need?
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna put Carolina on my back like a piggyback ride. She's so tired.
Well, gather round. I've only done this before once, and it didn't go as well. But I'll try.
And he will attempt to use the midnight stone tablet to create a gate back to the mortal world,
Okay. So to
material
the
plane.
prime material plane. Okay. Where? Where on the plane?
Uh,
Big place.
It
Emerald
is.
Arboris.
Yeah.
Or
I was
Yes.
trying to
Well,
remember the name of
Emerald
the town by.
Arboris is a big place.
Yeah.
I mean, there
Um,
is the city of Emerald Arboris, which is, like on the ground around the apparent trunk. But, as as anyone who is not already familiar with um, the lore might not know, its branches and roots extend to every every location in the cosmos, basically.
Some place you really don't want a blob of annihilation to be able to get to.
Hmm.
that's on it. Hmm. Uh, but you need to rest. Uh, did we stay in Emerald Arboris?
It depends on what happens when we get there. I mean, you making it sound like we're gonna get there and that big thing might be there. We may
It
never get to rest again.
may very well be there, but the scale it exists on is long. I don't know where it was banished to. I know only that it seems to have purpose, and I remember it chasing us quickly. I believe within view of Emerald Arboris, there was a stand which had pamphlets, and you could
Mhm.
arrange rides.
Yep.
I will open the gate there.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that as this gate is created with this powerful, magical object, it is night there presently. And so you emerge to the cool desert air, you know, lightly scented by the odors of flowers nearby and city smells slightly further away. The stars are out in a clear night. There are, you know, some people still milling around in this sort of plaza, but it is relatively quiet. I think certainly the appearance of this gate does attract some attention. There are some guards who are watching warily, but you may emerge into the prime material plain in the city of Emirate Arboris, where above you looms the impossibly large tree, which is the city's namesake. And also, in a complicated way, your friend Amethyst.
It seems to be okay, though. It's not currently engulfed or
No, I mean,
melting.
right now it looks normal as far as you can tell.
People aren't screaming from a large blob.
No, people are startled that a gate suddenly appeared, but there doesn't seem to be anything else happening.
Good.
Nobody opened any cans of tomato soup today, so.
We have time. I don't know.
And I suppose he might try to get a sense of where the blob is, this weird connection that he has. If there's anything that he can gleam in terms of, is it far or is it near?
Sure.
Very vague stuff.
Yes. Make an Arcana check.
Can do. I rolled a natural 1.
A natural 1. Well,
So that's a 12.
okay. So I did not have all of the right dice out for this. Give me just one moment. Take 16 points of psychic damage.
How many hit points do I even have?
You are I think full because this was you were restored to how you were before
Okay.
the fight. I would say go ahead and treat it as though you've had a long rest.
Okay. Which
But
I think
yes.
there was.
Now 16 points less though.
Okay.
Of psychic damage, and I think that the pounding headache that fills your mind as you try to reach out for this connection tells you that at least as of right now, you are not yet able to, tap into that source as a source of information. It doesn't mean that you might not in the future be able to better attune yourself to it, but for now, all you get is just blast of sensation that you cannot fully process.
I think he'll double over in pain, kind of grunting a little bit. Ah, no. A little bit of blood coming out of his nose.
I grab him.
I can almost see it, but it's clouded to me. I'll try again another time, but I would presume that it will take some time to get here, long enough at least to rest, long enough for you to recover, Lynn, I hope. I don't have any magics that can do anything. I don't think that. No, that's only myself. I cannot repay you at the moment.
I'm just glad you're okay. Kind of nodding off.
There must be an inn somewhere nearby.
I
is
mean,
the-
yeah,
Go find Amethyst.
yeah. Because the plaza where you emerged here is just outside the main sort of temple. So you could go in there. There are also, of course, inns.
Was the temple a place of rest, or it is the
Well, they
temple?
know us here. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
I
saved
mean,
amethyst and
it is
stuff.
not like it's not a hotel. But it
Right.
is just where, where if you wanted to talk to someone about amethyst, probably that's where you would go. If what you want is to go get some sleep, that's probably not where you would go.
Perhaps first we can send word, and in the morning, if Amethyst is available, we can speak to them directly. Um, Zinhorn, you speak Temple.
Yes, I do.
Maybe you could take the lead on this?
All right, let's go.
Where are you going? Into the temple?
To the temple, yeah.
To the
Okay.
temple. Yes.
All right. So I think that initially you move into this sort of opening lobby area where there are some acolytes there. It's a little bit sleepy. It's like going into I just said it wasn't a hotel, but it's this is the slow time. But there are people there, and I think that they look to you expectantly, but with no apparent recognition or anything. As greetings and welcome to the Temple of Emerit Arboris. How may we assist you this evening?
We come with urgent news for Amethyst, our friend Amethyst. We are the pocket protectors, and unfortunately, bad stuff may be about to happen.
She listens to all of that, and then she looks down at this little clipboard she has and says, I don't see you here with an appointment. Give me just 1 minute. And then they go back into another room, leaving you in the lobby.
While he's dealing with that, Vertigo is casting a spell ritually,
Okay.
kind of just tracing out some lines in midair. Takes 10 minutes, so.
All right. It won't be that long. So you can continue if you like, but it is less than 10 minutes before that acolyte emerges looking a little bit embarrassed with two other priests in kind of higher, like fancier looking uniforms. And they just say, the pocket protectors, yes, you do seem to be them. If you will be so kind as to follow me, Amethyst can meet with you now in a
Let's
fashion.
move.
Her avatar is not physically here, but she will be able to communicate with you much as though she were. Please come with me.
All right.
And so they escort you back into what looks like maybe sort of like a meditation room. There's, a stone floor. Everything is sort of very swept and tidy, but austere. There's a stack in the corner of some dusty looking cushions that look like they maybe actually don't get used very often, but they're there for people who aren't used to sitting on stone floors, for example. And in that space, there is a sort of a potted, like, imagine a bonsai tree if it were as big as like 3 feet tall. And it's in a big sort of terracotta pot with a lot of really fancy paint decorated on it. And the ones with you gesture to have a seat around it.
Vertigo gave up on the casting because there's just not enough time at the moment, but
Sure.
Yep.
So, as are you all taking a seat?
Yep.
Okay. Do you grab a cushion from the stack or no?
I probably use it as a pillow.
Actually, I think Vertigo will mage hand a few more pillows over for Lynn to kind of surround them with
Make
them.
a little futon for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
uh,
put her feet up in my lap.
so the uh, as you are waiting there, there is a strange visual effect around this tree that looks a little bit like if it were covered with a transparent dome of glass that is so transparent as to be essentially invisible. And if rain were falling on it, like with the water sort of trickling down around it, but you see just that water sort of moving over it as though there was, it's, along the sides of this invisible glass dome with no rain visible, just this water sort of spreading around the outside of this tree. You see within it, somewhat like a scrying pool, you see an image of Amethyst, the avatar of Emerald Arboris as you have known her. And you see that she looks somewhat pale with, just slight dark circles under her eyes, but she smiles to you and says, "There is news and developments on many fronts, but I think that probably you, all being on the point of the spear, so to speak, with this thing, might have some important information, so I've arranged for this conversation."
Thank you. Sorry to bother you. Always feels like I don't have good news to give people. Um, there's an entity moving towards Emerald Arboris. It seeks something at the base. It will consume everything.
Okay, so forgive me if I need to ask some clarifying questions here, because my first reaction was to ask another one, but I think that would just confuse you. So maybe just the brief update that we have from here is that since that island, Dinuthere, had kind of come out of its little bubble, I had been trying to reach my roots and branches into it, but it was strange. It was like everything there was numb. I could reach my branches into it, but not sense what was there inside. And the team that your friends in Pashan sent to Dinuthere to investigate the siphoners, they've lost contact with them, but before they did, they sent a communication saying that the siphoners were trying to infiltrate my root structure there, and I can't feel them or see what they're doing, but I am feeling somewhat weak. And so I tell you all of this because I need to know if that's what you're talking about or if there's something else now.
No, there's something else, and it's coming straight for the tree here in Emerald Arboris for uh, the base of the tree.
Um, so just for clarification, I think the image that you had from the sort of the blob's thoughts, so to speak, didn't give you any kind of a precise location, but you had a vague sense of like deep underneath and not
Hmm.
necessarily like the base like standing on the ground is the base. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the branches, though, it's somewhere
Like,
base or rooted.
yeah,
Yeah.
deep beneath is probably the best sort of vague descriptor there. Qualitative.
Um, yeah, this is different. This is an entity that was trapped by Titan magic or something similar. It was unfortunately released. Um, and then, uh, educated, I guess. It became aware of more Titan magic that exists in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now it seeks to complete that Titan magic with one component that is somewhere here, um,
Is that
beneath the tree.
the same Titan magic that all of you were trying to complete?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And just the way that you're presenting it makes me think that it 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 has the pieces and not you now. Is that right?
yeah.
Okay, well, that is definitely bad news.
I
Uh,
don't know how quickly such a thing moves, or if it even can be considered moving in the way we'd normally understand it. I'm hoping that long before it is anywhere too close to you, you'll be able to sense it at least.
well, I think under normal circumstances I might, but that numbness I mentioned seems to be spreading. There's more parts of where I reach out into the different planes, and I'm losing uh, my ability to sense what's happening in those locations. I'm not sure that I think there are parts of me that I would not know if it was there. It's a little bit like leeches submit this. In addition to this, the sucking of blood that they do, they submit a sort of a chemical that numbs the area so you don't feel the bite, you don't feel them on you. Or maybe a slightly happier example is when you sit on your hand for a little while and it gets all tingly.
Does sound a lot less disgusting. Um, are you able to sense your roots here? Have any feeling of this Titan magic that might be buried to at least give us a start, if not actually find it?
Well, if I hate to just say that I am a big place. Yeah, I know that's hard to kind of comprehend, but it's hard to narrow down. I'm not sensing anything like the sort of entity you're describing, but also, like I said, there are parts of me that I can't feel at all anymore. The parts that are right here in the city seem still normal, but I'm not sure whether it's the siphoners at work or this other creature or whatever it is.
Going to need to rest. We went through a lot facing.
I can uh,
They went through a lot facing this.
I can see I can see the weariness there in Carolina, and remind me with the wish spell what specifically is causing the tiredness. You have to get long rests, right? To pull it up. I think that she says, please reach out and touch the tree just for a moment, if you might, dear.
Okay.
I assume you do. You receive the benefit of one casting of greater restoration, which I believe. Well, you know what? It does say. Actually, I'm looking at the. Yeah, I'm looking at the wording of the spell, and it actually says this cannot be reduced or prevented in any way. No, no, that was the strict damage. You know what? No, okay. Um, you are gonna get the benefit of a greater restoration spell, which will reduce by 1 day what you have to in your recovering time. And I think you feel a bit better. And Amethyst just says, I wish I could do more, but kind of fighting a battle on multiple fronts right now, if you understand me.
It's appreciated. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. I just need some time.
Well, I can certainly have you know an arrangement made to get you all a place to sleep. Certainly, you'd be welcome to stay in the temple, but I imagine you might be more comfortable at one of the inns there in Emerald Arboris.
I've forgotten myself. We have a tower.
It's true.
A tower currently filled with Aarakocra, I would remind everyone.
Yes.
What?
Well, he probably forgot that part.
We have.
We do have a bunch of Aarakocra that are in need of like rest and minor healing. They were kind of being poisoned by their environment.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can take care of that. But I'm sure there's a lot of other people here at the temple that can do that too.
maybe they can be the ones to get the inn.
How many Aarakocra are we talking about here? This is a new element of this whole story right now.
Oh, sorry. I forget how many there are.
I think there
Like
was
I
like
think there were
13.
like 12 or
Yeah,
13.
yeah.
Yeah. Like a
Well,
dozen, like baker's dozen of Aarakocra.
I think under the circumstances we can work something out.
So when Lynn touched like the base of the tree,
Hmm.
was it obvious to like Zinhorn and I that it was just greater restoration?
I mean, I think that you wouldn't necessarily know specifically that that's what it is. I'm also not going to necessarily confirm for the group that greater restoration would always provide
Hmm.
that benefit.
Okay.
I think, strictly speaking, greater restoration as a spell does talk about it can undo changes to your stats, right? Like if your strength score has been lowered, which is what happens.
Yeah. Any reduction to one of the target's ability scores, one effect reducing their hit point maximum.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
think that is essentially the effect that was under happening here. Yeah.
Well, we should get those Harakokra to a safer place. Get Lynn some rest. And plan, I suppose.
Plan. Ha.
Well, I can pass along what you've said to the folks here in Pashan. That's where I am, you know, my human body is at the moment. But we can get you a place to rest, and hopefully, maybe when you can reach out to us in the morning, we'll maybe have some more intelligence for you. All right. So, do we want to assume that you all? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. You find a
Yep.
you find a nearby hotel that has a partnership with the temple, and do you all. Uh, I think that so. Tell me what you tell the Aarakocra, because what they know is that it's they were asked to flee into the tower to be safe from whatever this oncoming thing that was maybe going to destroy the village was for, and that they were not to come out until you told them it was safe. And it's not like it's been a very long time, but they've been waiting under tense circumstances.
I think it would be something like everything's fine now, sort of. You're not in immediate danger.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we are. Here's your circumstances. You've got the tree here. You can head and pick up your pilgrimage from here once you're recovered.
Mm-hmm. I think that they are, after a moment of being a little bit nonplussed, just because this is so different than what they thought they might be coming out to, turns into being very pleased, because to a large extent, their whole sort of pilgrimage thing that they were doing was, travel through all of the elemental planes. But it's a little bit like if you had been on a backpacking trip through Europe, and then had to be like hustled onto a bus, and then when you get off the bus, you're told that, like, actually now you're in Egypt. It's like, oh, okay, well, Egypt is also good. um, and so, in any case, I think that they're, now that they are no longer in an environment that is toxic for them, they can be healed relatively readily by the temple magics here. Lesser restoration is enough to cure disease when it's not a constant, renewed source. And they are also given a place to stay. And so, when you all are given the opportunity, do you each take separate rooms? How do you you basically could do it however you like. I
I
mean,
may take a room with Carolina just to make sure that she's okay. I'm gonna watch over her, and I mean,
Yeah.
I'll meditate and stuff, but I'm also gonna be like one eye open.
okay.
It's also fine if we all want to stay together. It's just
Yeah, we'll all pile into one room so I can take care of everybody. And I had the frightened and the poison condition.
Yeah, those would have worn off by now.
Okay.
The frightened would have ended actually as soon as you were not, didn't have this thing in line of sight anymore.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think, if all of you kind of just go ahead and get to bed, you can get a long rest.
I think Vertigo probably annoys people by keeping a candle burning a lot longer to try to write down anything he can remember, to try to capture the moment in his book.
My one eye open is like glaring at him occasionally from across the room, like, turn off the light.
You do get a like at some point overnight, there is a note that is put under your door. I would imagine Zaleen, who is not fully asleep, would get it, and it turns out it's a notification, a message from Nelson Devereaux, saying that he understands that you need to rest, but that you should contact him in the morning.
I will just read that and be like, just like fold it up and put it in my pocket. And we'll see if I remember, like, come morning.
All right.
I'm not saying I'm going to deliberately forget, but you never know. I might
Well, I guess we'll
forget.
have to play to find out.
Yep.
Do you want to roll for it?
Sure.
You are
Roll for clues.
volunteering to have maybe forgotten something that I was not going to make an issue. So you tell me
Yeah.
what you want to do.
What would I roll for that?
Wisdoms?
I'm pretty good at those. So yeah, I could definitely do a wisdom saving throw and see what happens.
Sure.
15.
I think you remember.
All right.
It
Which is
was not a
funny
high
because
DC. It was just like.
well, like my wisdom is plus 11. I rolled a
Mhm.
4. So yeah, there was no way I was forgetting that.
I wouldn't have expected. So in any case, though, yes, everybody is able to complete a long rest. But I think by the time you do, since you arrived in the middle of the night, the sun has been up for a little bit. You hear the sounds of a bustling market outside. Not too loud, but when you're listening for it.
Oh, the sounds of a city
Mm.
I think
and
Vertigo
food.
wakes with a bit of a start.
Oh, okay. Actually, here.
I'm going to go out and get food for everyone. Do I see the message or did Saline take it?
Zaline took it.
Well,
It's
then,
folded in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I would
yeah,
have told you.
I just woke up.
Well, then I'm not going to tell you till you're until you're more woke up. Then I'll tell you.
All right.
I'm not going to just bombard everybody and be like, Nelson Devereaux said we have to go talk to them.
All right. Well, I'm going to go out and find a vendor and get us some food.
Yeah,
Hotel
I
breakfast.
think that they have they've got the continental breakfast set up where there's I think fresh fruit and breads and um, maybe some kind of a salted fish because sure, why not.
A salted fish. I get a salted fish for everyone and grab a bunch of stuff and bring it back to the room.
How does Lynn look today?
That was actually gonna be my question. How many days? Because
I think that we had said that when you rolled for it, I think it was you
it was
know
3.
I
Is that
I
right?
that sounds right to me. So it sounds like you would um, uh, you maybe we've had it reduced by one, and now you've had one night's sleep, so you're maybe still weak, but on the mend.
Okay.
So like,
And I will no longer take necrotic damage from casting spells because I finished a long rest.
um,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it says.
yes,
So it's just the strength score?
yeah.
Really? Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But so basically, if you you know, uh, if you basically get one more long rest, you'll be back to normal.
Out of curiosity, what is Lynn's strength score right now?
Well, my normal strength score is 10, so
But right now it
so
is
it's a
3.
+0 normally.
Yeah, but yeah, right now it's a 3. It's basically I think it's walking around would wind you basically.
Okay. I can do this multiple times a day. It just takes a little bit of time.
And this time he will take the time to cast the spell. While I guess Zin is out getting some food.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It only lasts for an hour, so let me know if you need to do it again.
and he'll ritually cast floating disc.
There. You should just have to sit on it.
Thank you. How are you feeling? You were sort of dead, and magic does weird things. And you're already a little weird, but how are you?
That's hard to describe. I know that I'm here. I think I'm here. I'm fairly certain I'm here. Although, to be honest, that's a little questionable. But I'm also elsewhere. 2 or 3 places, I think. Part of me left with the Titan that we freed. Another part sits by the weapon, the pillar. And now another part is connected to something large again. Only this time I can still feel it. There's not much of me left, really.
You know what I bet would fix you? The diamond of infinite facets.
There's an interesting question in that, though. Should I be fixed?
I mean, I don't think it's a good state of mind to be so fractured. I mean, I'm not perfect in my head, but you've broken a little bit like glass.
I
In
like to look at it a different way. So there's a method of mending pottery that once they put it back together, they use gold to mend the seams, and it makes it more beautiful once it's put back together. So maybe you're like that.
what's the gold?
Knowledge? For you, that tracks.
There was a window in Master Finster's study. I stared at it a number of times trying to figure it out. It was made of multiple pieces of glass, all different shapes, different sizes, different colors. There wasn't gold between them. I think it was lead that held them together, but I never quite understood what the point of it was. I asked him about that once, and he gave an answer which I'm still struggling to truly understand. He made it sound as though it was representing magic or knowledge, that it came from different places, that it was combined together through force of will. But it had no coherence. It didn't fit together. It wasn't shaped in any regular shape. And he just kind of laughed when I pointed that out. Maybe I was just seeing something for the first time. He said a lot of stupid things too, though, so it was not entirely certain where that window came from.
Well, maybe it wasn't that it was window shaped, it was just it shaped.
Hmm.
It's its own unique thing now, right?
It's true. There's nothing else quite like it.
Same could be said for you.
Probably. It's never been a positive connotation before. Hmm.
Well, I think that depends on your point of view.
I have multiple. For now, though, I have a few thoughts about how we might go about this. But I'm very much open to other ideas, too. I don't know the shape and structure of the last piece. I know vaguely about it. And I tried to study some of the other pieces, but I didn't really have a lot of time to get the idea of what they were supposed to be when they were put together. I suspect it's a lot like the window, too. It would not make any sense until it finally makes sense. but I can cast a spell to locate objects. The less I know about the object, the harder it is to find, but it might give us an indication of direction. It's limited, though, both in time and in distance. And I don't know how we move through the tree in that direction. I don't think we want to move through the tree, not in the way that it's normally used to go to other dimensions and other spaces. Although I don't know. It might be on the
So
material plane.
I know I talk about this a lot, but this might actually be helpful. Um, the story of the heroes of legend. One of the things that they did is they restored the tree to this physical space. And before they did that, it was just a giant hole in the ground. Now, I don't know if that whole structure got destroyed or maybe some of it remains, but it's maybe worth looking into.
Definitely.
Hey, I
I,
brought food.
We eat.
I don't like fish. I'm just like,
Did anybody file a
There's fruit.
police report because that fish is assaulted?
if I had a
is that a
dad, I
bard
bet he'd tell jokes just like that.
is that a bard thing? Or is that because you're ill?
I'm still tired, but
It's kind of funny.
anyway. So, big hole in the ground. Let's see if it's still there.
Sounds like a great idea.
And as needed, Vertigo will recast. What was it called? Floating disc. That's what it's called.
Okay, yeah.
To allow Lynn to not have to walk.
We can even put a couple of pillows on it. It makes it easier.
So, is Buster just still in the tower, or you have him kind of out and about? I think he's getting a little bit stir crazy.
Yeah, we'll bring him out and all right, you guys discuss strategy. I'm gonna put on his emotional support uh,
It's
dog
best.
I
vest
mean,
and take him
once
for a
we're out in a
run.
desert, you'll be able to just run around free and clear.
All right. Well, I need to take him to a park or something.
As from what I understand, Amethyst has that exact sort of thing.
She does.
Yes.
The shady AG.
Yep.
Yes, so for those who haven't thought about it in a while, it's a sort of refuge slash nature preserve pocket dimension that is maintained by this world tree entity.
Ooh, how is it looking?
What, the tree or the.
Well, if it's maintained by the tree's energy and the tree is currently being drained.
I don't think you notice an obvious difference.
Okay.
But then again, you're not someone who goes there all the time, so you don't, like, it doesn't look noticeably wilted or anything, but you wouldn't necessarily have a direct comparison.
It's the Disneyland. It looks fantastic on the outside, and you don't see they scrape away the dead trees every once in a while.
Well, it just reminds me, I had the opportunity once in high school to go to Disney World and see some of the backstage stuff. And it was really interesting to note how much of the facade is very carefully designed so that you cannot see anything but the facade from anywhere in the park, and then only just that far. So if you see it from an angle that's not normally accessible by the public, it's like, oh, yeah, just immediately just stops. But yes, so in any case, though, yeah, you can go there.
I think that like as we're I don't know if we're just gonna sit in the shady AG while Zinhorn is walking the gray dog, but I would actually turn to uh Nedrigo and ask him, you know those what those things in that we saw that were like energy sucking vampire type things when we were in Dinuther.
Yeah, we didn't see them too many up
Well,
close, but yeah.
do you think that they could somehow be connected to this thing?
Intriguing.
I mean, they kind of perform a similar function.
Philosophically, yes, and that's not necessarily as tenuous as you might imagine. Um, Before there were us, mortals, there were titans. Before
Right.
there were titans, there were other creatures. And before them, there were the ideas of things. And this blob stems back more from that time, connected to the ideas of things as much as the reality of things. So,
Interesting.
philosophically, and perhaps actually, they could be connected. I'm not
And
sure
like,
how it would have manifested in the way it was because it was frozen. I would love to know what the heck that thing was that froze them if we could find that again.
that ring.
Yeah, a ring seems too small, but some touch of Titan power within it, I guess.
Yeah. It just seems weird to me that, like, you know, the message that the party that they sent there to investigate sent was that they were trying to get at the roots of the tree and, you know, like, why? Like, what's causing them to go after that? Like,
Well,
what if they're somehow connected and being directed?
we don't know much about them, but we do know that they consume life, magic, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things of life and magic is Emerald Arboris. It is connected to all worlds and contains power unimaginable. It might even be a Titan itself, actually, or some remnant of a Titan, or actually could be from the pre-Titan times. It itself could be a manifestation of one of those philosophical ideas. And in any case, it would be tremendously powerful, and lots of things consume. Not all of them consume in the same way. The blob consumes, but it might just be a different kind of eater.
You notice, like, as you're talking, that Zaleen just sort of like vacant stare. Like you lost her a few minutes ago. But she's like just vacantly sort of staring at you like she's listening, but she's lost.
It's a look that
In,
he gets often.
yeah, yeah. And it's not like anything personal. Like, if anything, it's that she's like, "Ah, I feel like I can't explain this in a way that someone so smart would understand." Like her thought is super simple, and she's like, no, I don't think I could explain it in a way that he would understand.
We'll have to see them for ourselves, I suspect, at some point to really understand.
What, like dissect them?
Well, in a manner of speaking, maybe.
Maybe. It just seems weird that that they're focusing on the tree and the blobby thing from before time is like, I don't know.
Technically, it's
Like,
not really after the tree, it's after the Titan object. The tree just happens to be in the way.
yeah.
That said, I'm sure it would love to consume the tree as well because that's what it does. That's what it is.
But if it's like the thing that caused the vampire type people to be like that could be also Titan magic, like Titan based.
Or even more primordial. The fact that they're on that island with that Titan pillar does
Mm-hmm.
suggest that it's most likely derived from that.
Yeah.
Although I still find myself mystified as to the connections.
It all works out in here. I just kind of like lean back and I watch Buster like chasing a stick.
Mhm.
Just um,
I
Wait,
think
is
in the
chasing a stick? No, sorry.
I think in the Shady AG there uh I think as you head towards sort of the threshold that goes into it, I feel like there's sort of an anticipation like there's going to be some sign or something that's going to list like are there rules or like what are, is there a code of conduct you need to follow when you go in there? But there's really not anything posted at all. And yet when you go inside, you find that there is a just a really compelling sense of peace in there and tranquility. And you don't know that it would extend so far as anything like mind control or even enchantment, but you gather that just the very nature of this place is so sort of restful by design that they maybe just don't generally have a lot of trouble with people causing trouble in it.
Oh, people, but Buster's not people.
I think even Buster is, he has got some pent up energy, and so he's not just like laying down to take a nap. But I think you are expecting him to be a little more rambunctious and like chasing the stick, for example. I think, but he seems a little more just interested in sort of walking around and exploring and sniffing.
Okay,
I half
that's
expect the Bugs Bunny cartoon where suddenly the delightful flute music starts and we see Buster kind of twirling and doing the dance. There's Tutu from somewhere. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with I should have made a left at Pismo Beach.
But yes, so I didn't mean to interrupt the conversation per se, but you know, I think you all found kind of a very nice sort of shaded meadow to like sit in.
I don't know what we're going to find down there either. Um, they haven't really been guarded so much as forgotten, as far as I can tell. But there's always a first time for terrible situations, so be careful.
It seems to me that you have an incredibly vague plan and have not really given me any sort of concrete detail as to how you might seek to accomplish it.
Which is more of a plan than we usually have. So
I mean, that's fine. I'm just suggesting that if you want to proceed with this plan, you might need to make some more specific decisions.
We might need to make some inquiries at the temple.
Yeah, in case there's any
'Cause I
kind
think
of
if anybody would
entrances.
know, Amethyst would. But if she's not available, then maybe one of the temple priests would know.
Is Zaylene still just like what, out of spite, withholding this note?
No, I will actually bring it up now that everybody is here. I was gonna bring it up like during breakfast, but then Buster needed to go out and I'd be like, oh yeah, by the way, this came in the middle of the night when everyone was sleeping. It seems the friend of the Emperor would like us to connect with him as soon as we are able.
Man, we didn't even give a forwarding address.
Oh, I know. I don't know how he finds us. I think he put trackers in us when we were. Remember that time we got taken in? We were
Mm.
being interrogated. They put a bag on my head. All that stuff. I think they put a tracker in me.
It could also have something to do with the fact that you had a conversation with Amethyst yesterday, and she is in Pashan where he is.
That's it. Amethyst is the tracker.
Mm.
I prefer to stick with my conspiracy theory. Thank you. I'm pretty sure the government is watching her.
So, how do we get in touch with the friend of the Emperor?
Sending.
Sending.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I
I
can
don't
do
think-
that. It won't hurt me now.
Are you sure?
What what do we want to tell him? Like, what does he want to know?
Just be like you wanted us to get in touch with you.
Do we want to give him an update? Tell him there's an
What do you need?
unbelievably large, powerful thing that wants to devour everything that currently has everything we were trying to do?
What do you want, Nelson Devereaux?
Mm,
What is it that you want?
maybe do we still have some of that paper that you can just,
I can
Oh,
do sending.
The paper takes time. It
well,
just
sending
flies.
is like 25 words and like that's going to take a long time.
No,
Just tell him where we
because
are.
yeah,
Well, he knows where we are.
Well, tell him we're
Obviously.
ready to see him.
I'm gonna cast sending. I'm just gonna be like, you wanted to speak with us. Please advise how to go about this. Send.
Um, I think what you get is thanks for getting back to me. Uh, Glad to hear that all of you are fine for the moment. We'll send another spell with more information. That's the response to your sending.
Okay. And I'm like, he just said that he's glad we're fine. I did not even say that.
I'm pretty sure he knows anyway.
Oh, that's true.
He was
Yeah.
able to deliver a letter in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uh,
Sorry.
To a
so,
hotel. Yeah, I mean, like,
um, so I think the new message you get is following every lead we can here, looking for this thing you told Amethyst about. Siphoner is also a threat to Emirate Arboris. What are your next moves?
What are our next moves? We don't have a
um,
plan.
we need to tell him that there's a blob of annihilation coming
No, I think,
here.
Amethyst already did.
yeah,
we,
Oh,
we,
well,
we need to go deep underground.
yeah.
yes.
We
Literally.
okay.
My hope is that we can find this and then be on the move so we can draw its attention away from Amethyst.
Right.
It will follow us, which is sounding terrifying as I'm saying it out loud, but we can be quite mobile.
So we're going underground.
Yes. And
Okay.
then if we... I am concerned about the Siphoner's attack on Emirate Arboris. Perhaps we can go there afterwards if we're
Which
able.
one is moving faster?
I can
I mean, we
try
need to take that into consideration. Like, which one is the more immediate threat?
And again today, he'll try to touch that part of his mind which is elsewhere, and see if he can glean anything more from it.
All right, make another Arcana check.
So I went for a natural 1 last time and a natural 20 this time, so that's a 31.
Whoa, okay. You are still going to take psychic damage.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's more this time. It's considerably more than the last time. just by the roll. So it is 26 psychic damage this time. So it's very painful, but you do get a sense from it that it is a difficult process for it to fully re-enter the prime material plane. It's working on it, but this is not a quick thing that's happening. However, it is an ooze, and it's basically, this is a little bit like, you know, it's got a very small opening, and it's going to take a while for it to pass completely through, but part of it has already. And the nature of this breach is such that, like, what the other side is and where it is not something that you get the feeling that it's not that you don't know, it's that it's not really like an answerable question. It's somehow like between spaces in a way. The shield, which is blocking all of the other planes from those planes of pure chaos and total order, it's still entering now a sort of place between the planes as you understand them. So you don't know if you could go to it right now. But from where it is now, it has reached out and it is probing the entities of all of the planes that it can now sense, looking for the energy signatures that it wants. And it has made contact with allies. It, or what it sees as allies, in the sense that it is a bit more like instruments that it might use to further its ends. And you believe that it has now made contact with something that you believe to be connected to the siphoners. And that it sees where they are as where it needs to go. But it also has a connection to something that you think might be connected to the construct makers as well. It has plans. And so I think what you're going to get from all of this is that you have a little bit of time, in the sense that when I say a little bit of time, I mean it's not like it's about to get this last part right away, but it is time in the order of like maybe days. But that in the meantime, it is perhaps working its will on influenceable minds within the planes and around those places already. And so it might have some additional tricks up its sleeve, trying to prepare its next steps.
Okay. Again, kind of after the question that Zaylene kind of innocently asked, Vertigo doubles over in pain once more. This time, kind of holding in the cry of pain, but you can kind of see him focusing. There's a large gush of blood from his nose.
I can see it. It's not here, but it's moving. You were right. In a way. I was right too, in a way. It seeks philosophical allies.
Hmm.
And it has found the siphoners.
I'm going to cast Healing Word at 5th level.
Whoa, that's a serious word.
Well, it's only like 5d4.
It's also
possible.
like you guys are at a high level now.
Yeah.
You can afford to toss
Plus, like,
fifth
you took
level
a lot
spells
of
around.
damage. And you only got 14 hit points back, so.
Hey, 14 is amazing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Where the siphoners are is a weakness, and I think it
Okay.
wants to exploit them to come there. So we might have a few days before it comes here. But
What we need to go to the siphoners now
right,
to beat it there is what we need to do.
there's a couple of
And
options.
I thought we needed to find the thing that's under the tree.
We do. But this might be more immediate. And if it is something which can also help Amethyst, she
You
might be able
never
to be
did.
more
So,
defensive.
did you actually reply to?
no,
Yeah.
we were figuring it out.
Right.
I'm going to.
I'm
I
just
plan
saying
it.
that you're kind of you're
Oh yeah.
leaving him on red
On the
for
horn.
yeah.
Left him on
I was
red.
just waiting.
Well,
I
no. So
left him on
That's right.
red.
he is literally in the situation right now where he has sent a text, and then he saw the little dot dot dot, and then the dot 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 went away, and now he's just waiting.
And it just says red.
Yeah.
I was waiting for to confirm, but I am going to reply and say we need to get to the siphoners as quickly as possible. Can you help make that happen?
I think that you get another sending in response because that was a reply,
Right.
and the sending says. The two ways that you could probably get there are either to go in from Dinuther or from the other side through the tree. Tell us what you need and we'll make it happen.
And then I relay that to everybody. What do
All
we
in the
need? Do we
same-
want to go through the tree?
Well, Amethyst did say that the tree had been expanding in that direction, which is an opportunity. It will be at the heart of everything, so we'll have to be ready. I can also try to use the gate, but it's difficult when you're on the same dimension.
Don't even know if it works actually if it's on the same
Do we
dimension.
need anything from, like, do we need help from his
Also, keep
resources?
in mind I'm not 100% yet.
Yeah. What can we do about that?
I will.
I mean, I feel like I might be okay tomorrow, but
But I mean, that's the thing. We can't really.
We are in the matter of
This
days.
is. Yeah, this is like the consequences of world breaking magic.
Gate does it. It specifically says you conjure a portal linking an unoccupied space you can see within range to a precise location on a different plane.
Different plane. Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Now that said, you have accesses to various demiplanes in at your disposal.
True, but I can only do it once a day.
Yeah.
So if we went into the tower, you could cast you could cast the gate spell from inside the tower.
Actually,
Does the tower have a ceiling or a parapet
To be like out like
on the
I
outside?
feel like if you
No.
so if you made it like full size from the outside you could stand on top. But from the inside there is not a ceiling access.
Right.
because the tower would be a defensible position from which to cast spells and not have to be in the middle of melee.
Right.
It might be a place where Lynn can be, where it's not as dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you can cast spells all right, but I don't know.
I mean, that I can do. think I
Not
just
that
gotta
I,
sit down while I do it.
Um,
Annoying.
I will try. Like I don't know if it will work or not, but I will try to cast Greater Restoration on her to see if that does anything.
I think
Since this is like an emergency.
sure. I think that it does. Yeah.
There you go.
Do you have the
Yeah,
diamonds for that? Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm just saying that
yep.
you make sure you're accounting for that, but yes,
I
I
am.
think it works.
Yep.
You just shower Lynn with diamonds.
Yeah, I just like throw them at her.
And
It's
that
like
makes her feel so
antiquing and
much
like
better.
it's like throwing flour in someone's face, only it's like glittery diamond dust.
Oh, that
Yep.
sounds so much more painful.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
want to get it in your eyes.
No.
I think too. I will start like while we're planning. I will reply to Nelson Devereaux and tell him we got this, and I will be in touch when we get there. Um, just so I'm not like letting him sit there all day like looking at his phone. Like what the hell? But that we will get in contact with him when we get there, and then I'm going to start working on a hero's feast that we can indulge in before we leave, so we have that protection for like 24 hours.
Okay.
But I think we did agree that the tree was a good way to get there, though. So you can
Well, we're
include
already
that.
here, so I mean that works, right?
Well, we
I think we need a guide through the tree. I'm not able to do it.
And
Mm.
that's not I don't think that's gonna be a normal, like, safe route. This is like a dangerous thing that we're undertaking. So we can't like just ask anybody to do this and not let them know what they're potentially walking into.
Amethyst described these routes essentially as numb, and she couldn't tell them anymore. She couldn't understand them, so we'd be walking into the most dangerous heart of all of this. So a good guide, especially one that can get themselves out pretty quickly, would be probably good. The gate can serve as a way out to another plane, mind you. Probably not Dream this time. That seemed a little dangerous. The Fey realm was probably the safest of all of them. Although there are other planes it touches.
Well, I mean, if we're looking for a safe escape, hate to say it, but we've got a pretty powerful backer in Solomonia.
Yeah, and I think that, she would probably be inclined to offer assistance because she doesn't want to get eaten by a blob of annihilation.
I
When
mean,
it
who
comes
would
to
really?
when it comes to primordials, titans, and gods, I'm not really sure if there is a particular betting pool. Um, they have all fought before, and the gods are the ones that are technically still here the most actively.
Yeah, but she just got there.
True. It's not like
She's
she
new.
started from nothing, though. She was an
Yeah.
archfey before she was a goddess, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
Does the does your mistress have anything to say about these siphoners? Like, cause they're what, dead but not dead? Like, does
We
she
don't
have any
know.
wisdom for you?
I mean, I would have to try to reach out to her. I haven't spoken to her lately.
Does
Um,
Rashama ever tell you anything, Zinhorn?
Um, no, not really. He doesn't talk to me the way the Mistress of the Dark talks to Zaleen.
Mountains aren't as talkative, I suppose.
Hmm.
Death has a lot to say.
I think there's maybe also a degree to which there's it's how much communication is initiated from your side, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I think Zinhorn, I think the
he's
teaching
just
that
waiting
you
by the
had
phone.
well, no, I mean I think the teaching that you had is that like there are different flavors of priests and clerics, and some are the kind that communicate more directly, and some just try to live by their understanding of the tenets, and it doesn't have to be like a verbal, like transactional, conversational thing. It can still just doesn't mean that there's any less faith there. Um, but it's like not
But
everybody's out there having conversations with
and
great
Zinhorn's
spirits.
like socially awkward, so he doesn't really know what to
Yeah.
say. Like how do you start that
Mm,
conversation?
Just be like, hey.
yeah. Zaleen, the other thing that probably does occur to you, though, in the question here is that there's also an element to which, you know, Carolina did just use a wish spell to bring Vertigo back from the dead.
Mm,
Which I don't. So make a religion check with advantage
okay.
because I think this is stuff that you've thought about.
Well, and when you were explaining it, it was more like there wouldn't even be like a spirit for him of him in like the
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you all really would know that
like he
necessarily,
was
but
annihilated, not dead. Like there's a
mm-hmm.
difference.
24.
Yeah, I think you would understand that by and large, while as a like um, there's a tenet in the player's handbook and talking about the rules of D&D in general where it will say the specific beats the general, right? Where it might be true as a general rule that magic designed to thwart the natural processes of living and dead, like you know for example, raise dead is a spell, and that's not like a frowned upon spell,
No,
but
I mean, like,
yeah.
she gave it to me.
Right.
It was like, here you go.
Right. Yeah. So it's not that exactly, but you know, wish is kind of a little bit of a different sort of thing because there's the like raised dead is sort of like through official channels, right? It's like if you're going to do it like this, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Whereas a wish spell is sort of inherently much more disruptive generally, and so there's a little bit more of a fraught idea there. But I think your expectation, without having actually talked to her about it, is that this thing is an abomination in such a way that almost anything else that you need to do around it to thwart what it's trying to do is probably can be allowances can be made.
Okay. Um, I will I will say that, like, I will express that like, even without talking to her, I feel like this is something that has avoided death in the most profane way imaginable. So that's all I know. I will have to try to maybe talk to her the next time I meditate. I mean, it's a process.
Did I avoid death?
Kind of. I mean, well, no, you were there, but then you came back from it, so you didn't avoid it. You
You bounced
cheated it.
off of it.
You cheated it in a way,
I
but
didn't do
Well,
anything.
I mean, technically he didn't. I
you
did.
you did. But I think that right now, um, it's necessary to use whatever means we can to stop this.
Hmm. It occurs to me that I might not even be me. But now put that philosophical quandary aside for time when there's more time to think. For the
Who
moment, let's
are
just
you?
assume that I'm me, or us, or whatever this is, and make our way to the most dangerous place on the world right now.
Making our way.
I was just thinking, it's like I have to imagine that Nedrigo here is would be considering, like, what are the cosmological semantics of the word restored,
Oh yeah.
because that's what the wish was, is restored to us.
And like he's already been like fractured. Like the pieces, what if they got put back together? Even weirder. And now there's another personality in there. There is, because you're hearing the blob's thoughts.
I mean, he
Like,
was already kind of a hot mess anyway, so.
yeah,
Think I'm hot?
she does.
Everyone is
Oh
beautiful.
my god. So I okay. I that's almost
Annihilated.
too great a, no, I was just gonna say that's almost too great a button to end a session on. She's a hot mess anyway. You think I'm hot? Anyway.
The end. Campaign ends
That's our
there.
campaign, everybody. No.
Banished.
But so here's the thing, is that, like, I figured in this session this was going to be a little bit of a regrouping, replanning sort of thing. And so I think, knowing now that the plan is to presumably acquire a guide who, with consent, is willing to take you from here to where the roots in Denether are, because you believe that's where the siphoners are, and you believe that stopping what they're doing is critical to the overall threat. Am I correct in that's your plan?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's fantastic. And I think that next week I will have an excellent um, little dungeon for you prepared.
Although Matt,
Yep.
Well, potentially. I'll see if I can find one that I'm satisfied with. But at the very
okay,
least, so I know this is a little earlier than we would typically end, but this is a consequential episode, and I think that we will have material for next time. So if that is acceptable to everybody,
hmm
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is where we will end for tonight. Thank you, everybody, for listening and or watching, and we will be back soon for more adventure on so many levels.
Many
Oh,
levels.
many
so
Nedries.
many.
So many levels.